personal finances that I have taught for years and years and years are still relevant, but I feel like for me that window is sort of past. There's plenty of Dave Ramsey's and around, there's plenty of personal finances for dummies, there's plenty of information. When I started teaching those things, way back in the 70s in the church, we were pioneers then. And I'll never forget, I was an elder and we began to see problems amongst people. And one day we began to realize that most of the problems in the families that were coming to us in marriages were either physically, sexually oriented or financially oriented. So being the guy I am, I took the financial. That was my name. So in those days, we began to see that families needed more teaching in everyday things, everyday subjects and things that they faced in everyday life. So I began to teach years ago in the 70s about personal finances. And I remember distinctly, I had been invited back into the Methodist church that Gail and I, we had come out of the Methodist church into the charismatic movement. And some of our connections, the lady had asked me to come teach finances on a Thursday night in the basement of a pretty good sized Methodist church. And I remember on Wednesday, she called me and she said, "Ronnie, you're going to have to cancel your class. The board has met and they've decided they don't want you to come, that finances are not spiritual enough to teach in the church." Even on a Thursday night in the basement. So that tells you where we've come from, you know. So after that, you know, there came financial teachings, and we've been a part of that for all these years. So the point is today we're going to do something different. So here we go with 6 guns and silver. And I want to talk just a minute, it's kind of in this introduction thing, because some of you are very familiar faces, old friends of mine, some of you are new faces. So I think in order for you to receive what we're talking about, that you need to know a little bit about me, like about my antique background. And so we're going to talk a little bit about spiritual things and a little bit about natural things like silver and gold. And so I want to start with the times that we're in. We are living in some unprecedented times. These times that we live in, the things that are happening around us are pretty unusual. Amber and I talked on the way over here. My early years, graduated from high school in 1964, so I'm familiar with uncertain times. The Kennedy assassination, I was a senior in high school. When Gail and I were married, the Vietnam War was upon us, and it pretty well dictated the direction of our life. I was really blessed. I didn't go to Vietnam, didn't face combat, but I thought we were totally affected by the military at that time. So political events were important then. And I would say that those were about as uncertain times in my life as these today. But I even remember then, and I told Amber, I said, you know, I don't think we really thought that the being of the United States was at stake. We never considered that things might fall. We never heard words like collapse, chaos at those moments. I had grown up in a sort of an Ozzie and Harriet, maybe an R-rated Ozzie and Harriet Little Beaver world. I grew up in a liquor store atmosphere. I didn't grow up in the church. I grew up in the first Pinky's liquor store Methodist church or whatever. You know, my whole world was different from most people, but it was a secure world. Even in that world, it was secure. The United States, we trusted the government. We went, marched down just like cattle and got the polio vaccination. We didn't question. We just took us down to the YMCA from our school. We got off and went through like cattle and were vaccinated. We never questioned that. So at that point in time, the federal government was quite trusted. We had the smallpox vaccination. We just went along with what was going on. And but then, as I was in high school, and the Kennedy assassination and the racial riots, and I went to Fort Polk, Louisiana, as part of the military, and I saw all the things that were going on down there. In 1966, I was down in Fort Polk for 6 months, and my goodness, ran head first into the racial, political, all of the problems that were going on. So those were uncertain times, and I'm telling you, we're living in uncertain times today. So what is going on around us? The political events. Ken and I were talking a while ago. We're seeing things that we thought would never happen. We're seeing things in the political arena, bills being passed that nobody understands. I mean, no. So the political events, especially as Christians and conservatives as a result, we're seeing some really crazy things going on in the political arena. We're seeing executive orders signed by our president that we're not really understanding how he can do that and why he can do that. The national debt. I had never even considered that a problem in all those young, growing up years. Nobody talked about the national debt. It was small, and now we're talking about it daily. A few years ago, you just heard a few extremists on the outside edge beginning to talk about the national debt and the problems that it could cause. Now, every time you turn on the news, they're talking about it. And it's not just Christian teachers that's talking about it. It's economists all over talking about how we're going to cope with this thing, the national debt. Inflation, they keep saying that inflation's under control. But have you been to the grocery store? This week I went to the grocery store. I couldn't see one item that hadn't gone up. I don't know. I always, if I'm at Walmart, I go down that center aisle and see what's on sale. And if there's something that they've got on sale that we use, well, I stock up on it. But I didn't see anything that hadn't gone up. The things that I was used to seeing on sale for 75 cents were 82 cents. Bananas, the first time in years, bananas were 39 cents a pound for years. Now they're 48 cents a pound. That's quite a jump. And all those things seem small if you're just buying a couple of dollars worth of bananas, but $1 for an apple. Do you weigh it? I'm over there and they're pink lady apples, and that's when I get some of these, and I see that they're $1.78 a pound. That's T-bone steak prices. But I wonder what these 4 apples weigh. Or 3 apples. You weigh them, it's 3 apples, nearly $1 an apple. And so I'm saying our inflation is here. They may not think we have inflation going on or that it's a serious problem, but I'm telling you, if you go to shop for groceries, it's a problem. The loss of our freedoms, the attack upon Christianity and our freedoms is upon us. We all hear about Christmas, we know all the things that go on, we know all the things that are happening in that world. Unemployment is at record heights. And I read the other day that during the Great Depression that the unemployment rate was 25%. Now, some of my statistics may be a little over, but I read that. I didn't check it any further than that, but I did read that. And I thought, gosh, you would have thought it would have been worse than that, or I did. And now we're hearing 10, 12 numbers, if you counted everything, it'd be 15%. So this unemployment thing is really a problem. And I had been saying for years, I told you, I was always telling her something, but I told her one time, or sometime a couple of years ago, I said, I don't think they're even considering technology. These jobs that are being replaced by technology, they're not coming back. They won't come back. They won't rehire those checkers, and on and on and on at Walmart. So recently, just a week or two ago, I saw a deal about robots. I watched this show about robots and the role that they're beginning to play in manufacturing. And it's unbelievable what these things can do. And technology is just pushing this unemployment thing continue. The 3D printers, y'all been hearing about the 3D printers? I watched that thing on TV and I said, how can you do that? They printed a crescent wrench. I've been around technology and printers and my whole world of that thing, but they run an object through this thing and it reproduces it in a 3-dimensional printing process out of some material. They're doing body parts and all kinds of good things, but the point is all of that replaces humans. So what are human beings going to do? We keep going into this robotic thing. So all of these things are big problems. Welfare, there's more people on welfare it's just out of control. Food stamps are record number of people are on food stamps, and we hear it all the time, the welfare state, the attitude. And unfortunately, the attitude of many people is let the government take care of it, let them take care of it, and so on and so forth. So violence, I want to tell you about that one. It's in the news constantly. Another shooting, I think, yesterday. These things have a tremendous impact upon the things that our everyday lives. Our everyday lives are impacted by this. And terrorism, we got so many other things going on that we forgot that there's a million plus, I don't know how many millions of people who would like to completely do away with us and our whole way of life. And that we have a definite threat to be repeated of a terrorist attack upon the United States. And so in my mind, I think back to the bomb shelter days of the 50s when I was a kid. I think of the Cold War. We had drills and civil defense things when I was growing up that we tend to forget. We tend to forget those things. As humans, we have a natural ability to remember the good things of the situation and forget the bad things. And so as I began to look back and say, have we experienced uncertain times before? I'm telling you, we have. But these, I think, are a different type, and if you will, they're more serious. I think they're upon us. So, in order to turn this thing, I want to turn it that God's in control into the spiritual. We can do it, spiritual warriors. But we have to look at reality. I do. I always look at reality. I have to be real. So where are we? We're in a state of confusion. Ken and I were talking before the class back here. I think the word confusion came up. Everywhere I go, businessmen don't know whether to invest, whether to expand. They were waiting on the election, thinking things would get better. That didn't happen. So where were we going yesterday? The Dow, an all-time record, or at least the high since before 2008 and the crash. So people are investing and doing stocks, and yet things are crazy. And you tell me, this doesn't make sense. You hear all these things going on around us. So today, what I want to do is just talk about some of the issues and what I feel like that help us to prepare for uncertain times.